Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen nabiyyina Muhammadi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Amma ba'du. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to our Ayyuh al-Walad on the second last or the last Taraweeh. We will pray, or have prayed. I think we will pray before, inshallah, the last fast. I know some of you have already seen the messages going around that the moon was reportedly sighted in Saudi Arabia, but it's an absolute miracle for it to happen. I just cracked a joke on one of the groups that I'm on, and I put Saudi 2025 vision, bolding the word vision, making the impossible possible, which is literally what's happened here. And if I share the details with you, it's an absolute no chancer. But hey, here we are. So we still, those who are of local sighting, European sighting, UK sighting, we haven't sighted last night, or tonight rather. So therefore, we will fast one more day, and inshallah, Eid will be on Monday for us. But we will carry on with Ayyuh al-Walad. We are on the 21st. The 21st Counsel. We're going to, inshallah, cover half a counsel today, because the 21st is a big one. And then we will cover the other half tomorrow, but we'll also do 22, 23, and possibly 24, if I've worked my numbers out correctly, meaning that we will finish the text tomorrow. The reason why we went for this huge task of completing a sizable chunk of 21 is because we wanted to kind of make it complete in Ramadan. So as we have 2 days of Ramadan, or 2 nights of Ramadan, technically we will be on Eid night tomorrow night, technically. However, Eid night is a night that we should keep our hearts awake, because those hearts which are awake on Eid night will still be alive on Yawm al-Qiyamah. So therefore, we will tonight, inshallah, keep it alive, and tomorrow we will do that, and that will mean we will complete the full series. Okay, so without further ado, let me make a start, because there's quite a fair bit to cover. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ayyuh al-Walad. And you don't know how we got this kitab. That's another story. Inni ansahuka bithamaniyat ashya. I'm going to advise you about 8 things. اقبلها مني لئلا يكون علمك خصما عليك يوم القيامة. Accept them from me, okay? Otherwise, your ilm may become a khasman. Yani something which is a burden, a liability, something which is a problem against you, something that can be held against you in the court of law on the day of judgment. تعمل منها أربعة وتدع منها أربعة. Act upon 4 of them and leave 4 of them. أما اللواتي تدع, as for the 4 you should abandon, فأحدهما, the first of them is ألا تنازر أحدا في مسألة ما استطعت. The first is that you should not ألا تنازر, you should not argue or dispute with anyone in a matter as long as you are able to. لأن فيها آفات كثيرة, for indeed in there are many harmful things. فإثمها أكبر من نفعها. So the sin in them, the evil in them, is more than the benefit in them. Meaning, if you weigh up, you find that when you enter into a dispute, when you enter into an argument, you will find that generally speaking, there is more harm that is caused than benefit gained. إذ هي منبع كل خلق ذميم, because it is the cause, it is the basis, it is the origin for every dhamimin, yani evil, ugly, despised trait, behavior, character, like kariya, like showing off, being insincere, wal hasad, envy, wal kibr, arrogance, wal hiqd, yani feeling uncomfortable, having some resentment. Assalamu alaikum. Can I ask questions regarding moon sighting? Of course you can, Ihtisham. We'll make a special treat for you. Ask away, sir. والعداوة enmity, والمباهة يعني مباهة showing off, being boastful, وغيرها, and other things of that nature. نعم لو وقع مسألة بينك وبين شخص أو قوم, of course, if a matter occurs between you and between a person or a people, وكانت إرادتك فيها, and your intention in it is أن يظهر الحق, is to make apparent the truth, ولا يضيع, and not to cause some harm as a result of it, جاز لك البحث, then it will be permissible for you, البحث, to debate and to discuss this point. لكن لتلك الإرادة, only keeping this intention in mind, meaning if you do not feel that there will be anything lost in this, and if you feel the truth will become apparent, okay, then لكن لتلك الإرادة, then as long as you keep this in mind, then that is fine. But there are two signs that you should be aware of. إحداهما ألا تفرق بين أن يكشف الحق. The first of the indications is لا تفرق بين أن يكشف الحق, that there you make no distinction, and لا تفرق بين أن ينكشف الحق على لسانك أو على لسان غيرك, whether the truth is on your tongue or the truth is on somebody else's, meaning it does not bother you where the truth comes. Okay, that's the first criterion that must exist for you to have a debate. If as soon as you feel that you need to be proved to be right, then there's no point having the debate. This is the only permissibility Imam Ghazali gives, that if you are going to have to, if he says don't get into debates. Why? Because the harms outweigh the benefit. But there's only in certain circumstances where you can be permitted, and that is if you want to make the truth apparent. But there are certain signs that you can do that if you're going to do this, and that is you do not care where the truth lies. Meaning, if you're the person you're having a dispute with, it raises that. وثانية أن يكون البحث في الخلاء, and secondly, that you prefer to have this discussion or this debate in private than you do in public. If those two conditions are there, then and only then you may enter into a conversation or a debate. Wasma, listen. Inni adhkuru laka hahuna fa'ida. I will mention something useful to you at this point. وَعَلَمْ, know this, أن السؤال عن المشكلات عرض مرض القلب على الطيب. Know this, okay, that questioning regarding difficult things, okay, aradu mard al-qalb, shows an illness in the heart, is a sign rather of showing the illness in the heart ala tabib, to a doctor. Tabib is a doctor, somebody who fixes things. Wal jawabu lahu sa'yun li islahi maradihi, and the response, okay, and the response is an attempt to cure this illness. So questioning, when somebody doesn't understand something, is making apparent an illness of the heart, which is ignorance, because ignorance is an illness of the heart. So when somebody raises a question, then this is them disclosing to the person that I have this illness of the heart. Him giving an answer to this question is him giving a cure to this illness. Wa'alam, and know this, أن الجاهلون المرضى قلوبهم, that the ignorant are those who are sick in their heart. والعلماء أطباء, and as for the ulama, the knowledgeable, they are doctors, practitioners. والعالم الناقص, as for a scholar who lacks complete knowledge, meaning he has inadequate knowledge, he has some nuqs in his knowledge, he has some deficiency in his knowledge, لا يحسن المعالجة, he cannot be good in providing a cure. والعالم الكامل, as for a complete, a fully knowledgeable chap, لا يعالج كل مريض, he cannot cure everything either. بل يعالج من يرجو قبول المعالجة والصلاح, he can only cure that person who is one who hopes and longs for accepting that treatment and being good. Meaning, if somebody has a disease and it's because of his lifestyle that he has that disease, and you are giving him tips about how to get better, well, if he doesn't choose to get better, then you can preach to him all night and day. It's going to have no impact on him whatsoever. وإذا كانت العلة مرضية مزمنة, losing my eyesight here. وإذا كانت العلة مزمنة أو عقيمة. If, on the other hand, this cause of this illness is something which is incurable, something which is going to bring his death, لا تقبل العلاج فحذاقة الطبيب فيه. Then the expertise of the doctor here, the practitioner, is أن يقول هذا لا يقبل العلاج, is that he will say that this is incurable. فلا تشتغل فيه, he will not now engage in this بمداوته, by trying to find a cure for this person, لأن فيه تضييع العمر, because he is just wasting his time. Meaning, a true expert of knowing the halat of people, he will know when somebody is a lost case. Now, I know this might come across a little harsh, because people might say, well, everyone deserves a chance. Well, yes, everyone deserves a chance. But if as an alim, if as a scholar, somebody only has 50 years of life, or 40 years of life, or 30 years of life, or 20 years of life, and he's going to spend all 20 years on one person who is not taking any advice he gives him, who he feels now his advice is useless to him because it's not curing him, it's not benefiting him, then he's wasting his time. He's far better using this time in giving his expertise to others who may apply it. ثم أعلم أن مرض الجهل على أربعة أنواع. And then know this, that the disease of ignorance is considered as a disease of the heart. That the disease of the ignorance is of 4 types. أحدها يقبل العلاج والباقي لا تقبل. One of the 4 accepts a cure, meaning is curable, and the other 4 are not curable. أما الذي لا يقبل العلاج فأحدها من كان سؤاله واعتراضه عن حسده وبغضه. As for one of those that is incurable, one of them is man kana su'aluhu, when one person's question واعتراضه and dispute is based upon or due to his hasad wa bughd. Bughd is his hatred. Okay. فَكُلَّمَا تُجِيبُهُ بِأَحْسَنِ. So everything, so every time you answer him بِأَحْسَنَ الْجَوَابِ, with the best response, وَأَفْسَحِهِ وَأَوْضَحِهِ, and you explain it in great detail, you provide evidence, فَلَا يَزِيدُ لَهُ ذَلِكَ إِلَّا بُغْضًا, then this will not increase him in knowledge except more hatred and more enmity and more hasad, envy. فَالطَّرِيقُ أَلَّا تَشْتَغِلُ بِهِ. So the best thing is not to engage with him in the first place. فَقَدْ قِيلَ, it is said, and this is a little couplet, he says, كُلُّ عَدَاوَةٍ قَدْ تُرْجَى إِزَالَتُهَا. Every enmity or hostility that you hope to remove and end, illa, so meaning you can find a cure or you can end every enmity, illa adawata man adaka and hasadan, except an enmity which is due to jealousy or envy. So if somebody hates on you because they're envious of you, you cannot close that, you cannot sort that out. You know, enmity can be for different reasons. Misunderstanding. You didn't go to a particular thing and they're hurt by it. You said something in a way which you didn't think was offensive, but they took offense to it. All those can be settled, all those enmities. The one enmity which cannot be settled, which is due to hasad, and therefore the best thing for you to do is to walk away from there. Why do some Hanafis do local citing if the main opinion in the Hanafi school is global citing? Ihtisham, it will be easy for you if you go to my video which is on this channel, which is called When Should We Start Ramadan in the UK, something like that. I explain it in great detail. I would not do it justice to explain it in the middle of this because it would take about 10 minutes to explain it. But if you watch that video, you will get more out of it, inshallah. Barakallah fiqh. فَيَنْبَغِي أَنْ تُعْرِضَ عَنْهُ وَتَتْرُكَهُ مَعَ مَرْضِهِ. So it is better for him, as in the tabib, the ulama, the alim, that he turns away from him, وَتَتْرُكَهُ and he leaves him in his sickness. Because his sickness is not due to him having an enmity which can be resolved. His sickness is due to his enmity towards you, which is based on hasad. So that can't be fixed, that cannot be cleaned. Okay, you cannot sort that out. قال الله تعالى, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, because he gives dalil to support this particular position, فَعَارِضْ أَمَّنْ تَوَلَّى عَنْ ذِكْرِنَا وَلَمْ يُرِدْ إِلَّا الْحَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا. So turn away from whoever, أَمَّنْ تَوَلَّى عَنْ ذِكْرِنَا, who turns away from our zikr, وَلَمْ يُرِدْ إِلَّا, and they do not intend and they do not want anything except the life of this world. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself is saying to us, the da'i, okay, that what you should do is, as soon as you realize that somebody cannot be changed, cannot be moved, cannot be modified, then turn away from them, because you are just using up your time and energy. والحسود بكل ما يقول ويفعل يوقظ النار في زرع عمله. The envious person is a man, is a person in whatever he, بكل ما يقول, in whatever he says, ويفعل, and whatever he does, يوقظ النار في زرع عمله. He is lighting fire to the crops of his deeds. Okay, to the crops of his deeds. كما قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, like the way the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام said, الحسد يأكل الحسنات كما تأكل النار الحطب. That hasad, having envy, devours al-hasanat, consumes the hasanat, the good deeds, like the way fire devours and consumes firewood. Wathani, the second one is, remember he was going to mention, first of all, he's mentioning 8 things, 4 things he should avoid and 4 things he should do. And from one of those 4 things is about debates and disputes. And he's mentioning that there's 4 types of people. 1 that you should engage with, and 3 that you should exclude. So we're going through that list. So now we get to the second. So you're going to have to kind of go back and forth to make sure you got this. Wathani, and the second one is أن تكون إلته من الحماقة, that his sickness, okay, is due to hamaka, stupidity, okay, foolishness. وهو أيضا لا يقبل العلاج, and he's also cannot be cured. So the one who has hasad towards you, he cannot be cured. You best leave him, let him find somebody else. The one who is stupid or being foolish or lacks that, he's another one that cannot be cured. كما قال عيسى عليه الصلاة والسلام, like the way Isa عليه الصلاة والسلام said, إني ما أجزت عن إحياء الموتى وقد أجزت عن معالجة الأحمق. Without doubt, I was not incapable of bringing the dead to life, but without doubt, I am incapable of curing the fool. وَذَلِكَ رَجُلٌ يَشْتَغِلُ بِطَلْبِ الْعِلْمِ زَمَنًا قَلِيلًا. And what is the definition of this fool? The fool is this person, وَذَلِكَ رَجُلٌ, this is a person, يَشْتَغِلُ بِطَلْبِ الْعِلْمِ, who preoccupies himself in the seeking of knowledge, زَمَنًا قَلِيلًا, for a very short time, for a very small time, for a few weeks, a few months, maybe a year. ويتعلم شيئا من العلم العقلية والشرعية, and he learns something from the non-sacred sciences and also of the sacred sciences. فيسأل ويعترض من حماقته على العالم الكبير. So what he does is he asks and he interrogates, due to his stupidity and foolishness, a great scholar. Who is a great scholar? الذي مضى عمره, sorry, I'm losing my eyesight. He is that person who has spent his umr in ulum al-aqliyah wa shar'iyah. Yani he has spent his life in studying the non-sacred sciences and also the sacred sciences. وهذا الأحمق, and this fool, لا يعلم ويظن أن ما أشكل عليه وأيضا مشكل على العالم الكبير. He thinks, he does not know that, and he thinks that that which is difficult for him is also difficult for this great scholar, because he is viewing the great scholar through his own lens of lack of ilm. فإذا لم يعلم هذا القدر يكون سؤاله من الحماقة. So when he does not know this much, then his questioning is due to stupidity, due to foolishness. فَيَنْبَغِي أَنْ لَا تَشْتَغِلُوا بِجَوَابِهِ. So it's no reason for you to engage in giving him a response. So that's the 2 types, the hasad, the husud, and the ahmak. The third type, والثالث أن يكون مسترشدا وكل ما لا يفهم من كلام الأكابر يحمل على قصور فهمه وكان سؤاله للاستقاذة. And as for the third type, أن يكون مسترشدا is somebody who's asking for guidance. وكل ما لا يفهم, and everything he does not understand, من كلام الأكابر, from the conversations and the discussions and the writings of the elders, the great scholars. يحمل على قصور فهمي is put down, he considers it to be due to the lack of his not understanding. وكان سؤاله لاستفادة, and he asks the questioning is so that he learns. لكن يكون بليدا لا يدرك الحقائق, however he is unfortunately lacks the intelligence to understand the true realities. فلا ينبغي اشتغاله بجواب أيضا, so it is not appropriate that this scholar engages with him by responding to him. كما قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, like the way the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام said, نحن معاشر الأنبياء أمرنا أن نكلم الناس على قدر أقولهم. We, as in the ma'ashir, the assemblies of the Anbiya, we have been ordered that we speak to people according to their intellects. Okay, على قدر أقولهم. So there were the three types. There was the unintelligent person, there was the fool, and there was the hasud. There were three people who you could not change them by engaging and answering their questions. So you were wasting your time. The person who could be changed, وَأَمَّا الْمَرْضُ الَّذِي يَقْبَلُ عِلَاج, the one that could, whose ilaj could be accepted, فَهُوَ أَن يَكُونَ مُسْتَرْشِدًا عَاقِلًا فَهِمًا, is that firstly, he is seeking guidance, secondly, he is intelligent, and thirdly, he can understand. Three characteristics. لا يكون مغلوب الحسد والغضب وحب الشهرة والجاه والمال. He is not consumed, okay, by envy. He is not consumed by anger. He is not consumed by the love of fame, of status, and of property, yani wealth. وَيَكُونُ طَالِبَ الطَّرِيقِ الْمُسْتَقِيمِ, he is a true seeker of the straight path. وَلَمْ يَكُنْ سُؤَالُهُ وَاعْتِرَادُهُ عَنْ حَسَدٍ, and his questioning and his querying and his investigating is not due to hasad, envy, not to watana'ut, not to being obstinate, وَامْتِحَان, not to test or trial. وَهَذَا يَقْبَلُ الْإِلَاجِ, this person can change. فَيَجُوزُ أَن تَشْتَغِلَ بِجَوَابِ سُؤَالِهِ, so it is permissible for you out of the four that you preoccupy yourself in answering his questions. Rather, يَجِبُ عَلَيْكَ إِجَابَتُهُ, it is now wajib for you to answer him. So if you remember, there was 8 things. I just want to put this back into context. There were 8 things Imam Ghazali mentioned, 4 that the person should do, the Ayyuh al-Walad should do, and 4 he should avoid. The first one he mentioned is about answering people's questions. That then split into 4. We now go on to the second one. The second one, he says, وَالثَّانِي مِمَّا تَدَعُ هُوَ أَن تَحْذَرَ مِنْ أَن تَكُونَ وَاعِزًا وَمُذَكِّرًا لِأَنَّ فِيهِ أَفَاتًا كَثِيرًا. Second thing to give up, so there were 4 things to give up. One was answering people's questions, give that up. The second thing to give up is to be a wa'idh. A wa'idh is somebody who is a admonisher, wa mudhakkiran, and a preacher. لأن فيه آفات كثيرة, because in there is much harm. إلا أن تعمل بما تقول أولا ثم تعظ به الناس, except if you first act upon what you say, meaning practice what you preach, then you preach the people. Meaning, don't go out preaching to the people what you're not practicing yourself. فَتَفَكَّرْ فِيمَا قِيلَ لِعَيْنِي. So you reflect upon that. Sorry, li'ayni, I'm definitely losing my eyesight. فَتَفَكَّرْ فِيمَا قِيلَ لِعِيسَى. So reflect over what was said to Isa alayhi salatu wasalam. Yabna Maryam, O son of Maryam. Iz nafsaka, preach to yourself. فَإِنِ تَعَزَّتْ فَإِذَا nas. And if you are able to learn, your nafs accepts this preaching, then preach the people. وَإِلَّا فَاسْتَحِبْ مِنْ رَبِّكَ. Otherwise, show humility in front of your Rabb, that you're standing in front of all these people, and telling them what they should do, what they shouldn't do, and you yourself aren't acting upon that. وَإِنِ ابْتُلِيَتْ بِهَذَا الْعَمَلِ فَاحْتَرِزْ عَنْ خَصْلَتَيْنِ. If you are put to test, meaning you end up having to take this role on as a preacher, as a da'i, then he says, be careful of two traits, two characteristics. Al-ula, the first one is أن التكلف في الكلام والإبارات والإشارات والطامات والأبيات والأشعار. Then be careful in being takalluf fil kalam, in being pretentious in your talking, and also by way of ibarat, sort of using ibarat, yani idioms, wal isharat, and using figurative language or elusive language, wal tamat, and your kind of spiritual outbursts, wal abiyat, and your verses, wal ash'ar, and your poetry. لأن الله تعالى يبغض المتكلفين, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala despises the people who are pretentious speakers. والمتكلف المتجاوز عن الحد, because the pretentious and the one who is excessive beyond the had, yani he goes beyond the limit, tajawaz, the person who's excessive, because what does he do? متجاوز عن الحد يدل على خراب الباطن, because he's indicating towards the kharab, yani the destruction of his inners. وغفلة القلب, and of the غفلة يعني carefree, carelessness of his heart. ومعنى التذكير أن يذكر العبد نار الآخرة وتقصير نفسه في خدمة الخالق. And the idea or the meaning or understanding of remembering, tazkir, yani admonishing, reminding, is that the servant remembers the fire of the akhirah, and he limits himself in the service of Allah, the Creator. ويتفكر في عمره الماضي الذي أفناه فيما لا يعينه, and he reflects over the past years he's lived, that which he spent in those things which will not help him, which will not benefit him. ويتفكر فيما بين يديه, and he should reflect and ponder over what is coming, what is to pass in front of him, min al-aqabat, from punishments, min admi salamat al-iman, due to the absence of the soundness of his iman, fil khatima, at these final moments of his life. وكيفية حاله في قبض الملك الموت, and also the state he will be in at the time the angel of death comes to collect. وهل يقدر على جواب منكر والنكير, and will he have capacity to be able to respond to the questions of munkar and nakir. ويهتم بحاله في القيامة موافقها, and also he has to worry about his state and position on the day of judgment, and also the مواقفها, and the things which take place around it. وهل يعبر عن الصراط ساملا, and will he be able to pass the sirat, the bridge, saliman, in sound state. أم يقع في هاوية, or is he going to fall into the hawiyah, Jahannam, the abyss. ويستمر ذكر هذه الأشياء, and he should continuously remember these things في قلبه, in his heart, فيزعجه عن قراره. Okay, so that he can يزعجه عن قراره, يعني so that he's constantly kind of, in a state of sadness. فغليان هذه النيران, so these fires, okay, should يعني so overpower him. وَنَوْحَةُ هَذِهِ الْمَنَاصِبِ, and he should lament over these masa'ib, these calamities. يُسَمَّى تَذْكِيرًا, this is what is called tazkira. This is what we call reflecting and admonition. وَإِعْلَامُ الْخَلْقِ, I know it's gone a little bit over than originally planned. My apologies, but as we're trying to finish both off today and tomorrow, I'll need another 10 minutes or so of your time, and we will inshallah finish this. وَإِعْلَامُ الْخَلْقِ وَإِطْلَاؤُهُمْ عَنْ هَذِهِ الْأَشْيَاءِ وَتَنْبِيهُهُمْ عَلَى تَقْصِيرِهِمْ وَتَفْرِيطِهِمْ وَتَبْصِيرُهُمْ بعيوب أنفسهم لتمس حرارة هذه النيران أهل المجلس وتجزئهم بتلك المصائب ليتداركوا العمر الماضي بقدر الطاقة ويتحسروا على الأيام الخالية في غير طاعة الله تعالى. And the إعلام الخلق and informing the people وإطلاعهم على هذا and making them aware of these things. وتنبيههم and warning them على تقصيرهم due to their lack of fulfilling this, يعني negligence and laziness. وتفريطهم وتبصيرهم بعيوب and showing them, making them see بعيوب أنفسهم, the faults and defects in their egos. لتمس حرارة هذه النيران, so that they may feel the heat of these fires. أهل المجلس, the people of the congregation. وتجزئهم تلك المصائب, and also so that they may be affected by the masa'ib, the calamities. ليتداركوا العمر الماضي, so that they may make amends for the past years. بقدر طاقة, according to their ability. ويتحسروا على الأيام الخالية, and so that they may become perturbed and disturbed about the days empty of the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay. هذه الجملة على هذا الطريق تسمى, this sentence that we've just explained here, this is what we call wa'az. كما لو رأيت أن السيل قد هجم على دار أحد. This would be similar to if you saw a flood or you saw a water, large amounts of water passing by a person's house. وكان هو وأهله فيها, and him and his family are in the house. فتقول, so you shout out, الحذر الحذر, يعني the flood, or beware, beware, al-hazar, beware, look out, be careful. فروا من السيل, run away from the flood. وهل يشتهي قلبك في هذه الحالة أن تخبر صاحب الدار خبرك بتكلف العبارات والنكت والإشارات? In this situation, وهل يشتهي قلبك, does your heart wish to inform the house dweller by using fancy words or pretentious statements or allusions or figurative speech? No, you're not. You're straight to the point. There's no duplicity. There's no show. You're trying to save a person from drowning. You're not going to say, thou should save thyself from the torrent of thy water outside thy house or something like that. You're going to scream, you're going to shout. And so why do we have to use this kind of fancy language when it comes to giving wa'az to the public? فلا تشتهي البتة. Okay. It's completely, you'll feel completely wrong to do that. فكذلك حال الواعظ, and this is why you shouldn't do that when you're preaching. فينبغي أن يجتنبها, so it's also that you should avoid it. والخصلة الثانية, and the second trait is, remember he said there's two traits. If you're going to do it, these are two things you should have. ألا تكون همتك في وعظك أن ينأر خلق. The second trait is that your effort in your preaching is that you should not be too far from the people in the majlis, or yuzhirul wajda wa yashukku istayaba, so that you don't want to kind of make a scene where they make apparent screaming and shouting, or yashukku thiyab, and they start tearing out your clothes. Liyuqal, so people say afterwards, ni'mal majlis, you're not here to perform. Okay, when you're preaching to people, you're not here to perform so that people afterwards say, wow, that person's dua was something else. It was out of this moon. He made the whole majlis cry. Or, this person's bayan is like this and like that. And, it's really, you should come. And he speaks for hours. This, that. You're not here to entertain. لأن كله ميل للدنيا, because all of this is actually moving a person towards the dunya. وهو يتولد من الغفلة, and you're initiating, you're bringing about negligence. بل ينبغي أن يكون عزمك وحمتك أن تدعو الناس من الدنيا إلى الآخرة. Rather, your effort and your intention and your energy should be that you're calling people from the dunya towards the akhirah. ومن المعصية إلى الطاعة, away from disobedience to obedience. وَمِنَ الْحِرْصِ إِلَى الزُّهْدِ, and instead of from greed towards being distant from the dunya. وَمِنَ الْبُخْلِ, and from being miserly in the path of Allah. إِلَى السَّخَاءِ, towards being generous. وَمِنَ الشَّكِّ, and you're moving people away from doubt. إِلَى الْيَقِينِ, towards certainty. وَمِنَ الْغَفْلَةِ إِلَى الْيَقِظِ, and instead of being lazy and sleepy, you're waking people up spiritually. وَمِنَ الْغُرُورِ, and instead of being deceived, إِلَى التَّقْوَى, towards God consciousness. وَتُحَبَّبُ إِلَيْهِمَ الْآخِرَةِ, so that the akhirat becomes loving to them. They love the akhirat. وَتُبَغِّضَ إِلَيْهِمَ الدُّنْيَا, and they find hatred towards the dunya. وَتُعَلِّمَهُمْ عِلْمُ الْعِبَادَةِ وَالزُّهْدِ, and you start teaching them the knowledge of worship and zuhd, meaning refraining from worldly pursuits. وَلَا تُغِرَّهُمْ بِكَرَمِ اللَّهِ, and you do not deceive them by the kindness of Allah, so that they think, oh, we got nothing to worry about. ورحمته, and His mercy. لأن الغالب في اتباعهم الزيغ عن منهج الشرع والسعي فيها لا يرضى الله تعالى به والاستئثار بالأخلاق الردية. Because في اتباعهم, in their natures, is زيغ عن منهج الشرع, is their moving away from the Sharia and hastening towards that which does not please Allah. Okay, والاستئثار بالأخلاق الردية, and falling foul to bad morals and characteristics and traits. فَأَلْقِ فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ الرُّعْبَ, so put fear into their hearts. وَرَوِّعْهُمْ وَحَذِّرْهُمْ, and frighten them and warn them أَمَّا يَسْتَقْبِلُونَ مِنَ الْمَخَاوِفِ, that what is about to happen in front of them, the dangers and the fears that lay in wait for them. لَعَلَّ صِفَاتِ بَاطِنِهِمْ تَتَغَيَّرُ, so that the qualities of their inners change. وَمُعَامَلَةِ ظَاهِرِهِمْ, and also their actions of their outwardness. تَتَبَدَّلُ, changes. وَيَظْهَرُ الْحِرْصُ وَالرَّغْبَةُ فِي طَاعَةٍ, so suddenly they now have a desire and a passion and an energy and an appetite towards obedience. وَالرُّجُوعُ عَنِ الْمَعْصِيَةِ, and they want to turn away from disobedience. وَهَذَا طَرِيقُ الْوَعْزِ وَالنَّصِيحَةِ, this is the method of preaching and advising. وَكُلُّ وَعْزٍ لَا يَكُونُ هَكَذَا, and any preaching and advising which does not contain what has been shared above, وَبَالٌ عَلَى مَنْ قَالَ, this is a curse upon the person who speaks it and the one who hears it. بَلْ قِيلَ, rather it is said, إِنَّهُ غُولٌ, rather that he is a ghoul. وَالشَّيْطَانِ, he is a devil, a demon. يَذْهَبُ بِالْخَلْقِ عَنِ الطَّرِيقِ, he is taking the men off the path. وَيُهْلِكُهُمْ, and is destroying them. فَيَجِبُ عَلَيْهِمْ أَن يَفِرُّوا مِنْهُ, so it is wajib upon the people to run away from a preacher that does not preach like what we've said above, that does not call like we said above. لِأَنَّ مَا يُفْسِدُ هَذَا الْقَائِلِ مِنْ دِينِهِمْ, because that person who destroys لأن ما يفسد هذا القائل من دينهم لا يستطيع بمثل الشيطان, because in this way, like this, the way this speaker has destroyed this person's deen, even the shaitan is not able to do that, because the shaitan, you see him coming, so you get protected. But this speaker, you think he's going to be a religious speaker, so you let your guard down. وَمَنْ كَانَتْ لَهُ يَدٌ وَقُدْرَةٌ, that person who has power and ability, يَجِبُ عَلَيْهِ, it is wajib upon him, أَن يُنْزِلَهُ عَنْ مَنَابِرِ الْمَعَازِ, he should remove him from the pulpits of admonition and warning. وَيَمْنَعَهُ, and he should prevent him, أَمَّا بَاشَرَ, to be able to be involved in any of this whatsoever. يَجِبُ عَلَيْهِ, sorry, I've gone, فَإِنَّهُ مِنْ جُمْلَةِ الْأَمْرِ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَالنَّهْيِ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ, because this is itself Amr bil Ma'ruf, enjoining good, wa Nahy anil Munkar, and forbidding evil. Alhamdulillah, may Allah bless you for staying with me for the 40 minutes. That brings us to the end of the 21st part A, Counsel. We will have the third and fourth warnings to stay away from, and then we will have the 4 that should be acted upon, and then we will do 22, 23, and I think that will be it, inshallah. So tomorrow, please, I know it will be Eid night tomorrow, and for some of you, it may be the second Eid night. But tomorrow, same time, around 7:40, maybe a little bit earlier. Please do subscribe to the channel. You'll get the notification. We will, inshallah, do the final episode of Ayyuh al-Walad. Alhamdulillah, Jazakumullah khair for tuning in and listening to it all. Please do share with others so that they may benefit. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.